So there's no software for understanding customers. The company itself and its employees need to figure out how to capture that value, how to understand that customer. Now, usually I call these analyses, the ones that usually companies do, I call it at the quarter of a chair and completely bored analysis. Why? Because a typical case scenario is that you have a company, maybe you, okay, you spend months or years trying to launch a product, trying to figure out the details of the product, and once you're ready to launch, now you're saying, I need to figure out my price. So you do this last minute. And when you do this, you usually, and this is not you, this is everybody, they use a few golden rules. And these golden rules could be, well, the typical is cost plus margin, right? What my cost is, I add up a percentage. I said 30%. Does it sound right? 30%? So if my cost is 100, I'll charge 130, 150, or 200. There's another set of people that actually think when I actually want to set up my prices, I just want to be the lowest. Walmart, for instance, uses that strategy. And they say, you know, I want to be the highest discounter in the market. Well, it's hitting them in the butt right now, right? They just closed last year about 200 stores. All right, there's another set that says, I want to do price match. No, I don't want to get into this fight with the customer, so you know what? If you guys figure out that you can find the same stuff that I offer somewhere else cheaper, I'll just match that price. Well, that's not much of a strategy anyway. There are other companies that say, well, when I worked for one of those companies, okay, and they said, our margins can never be less than, in my case, 17%. And my question was, why? Where do you get that figure from? Why 17%? So, the way we price things to the way the customer sees that price and decides on capturing the product or getting the product, it's a value. And nowhere in the equation value is considered. And the problem with that is that, oh, and by the way, everybody tells me the same. I talk to a company that says, our pricing model is unique. No, your Excel sheet is unique. Not your pricing model is unique. So the truth is that you have a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration when it comes to figuring out prices. And chances are you're not alien to this issue. You lose a lot of opportunities, number one. Why? Because you're doing cost-based pricing. You figure out your cost, you put a margin, and then you figure it out if somebody wants to buy. You leave a lot of money on the table. And at the same time, it's completely understandable. Because nowadays, when I talk to people that are in pricing within large organizations, these people don't understand value. They understand Excel. They're pretty good at figuring out curves and expenses and amortization, depreciation. Where the heck is value in there? Well, they don't have it. So this is your status quo, this is your market nowadays. This is where you compete. So, in order to understand a little bit more about pricing, let's figure this out. How rational are you when you buy something? To understand pricing, you need to understand customer behavior, but you need to understand exactly how you yourself buy. And the difference between you and a large company is that as opposed to you being the sole, this is a factor. When a company, you have 5, 7 guys that are figuring out if they want to buy your product. So let's figure this out. This is an example from Dan Ariely's, which is a professor of behavioral economics at Duke University, and this is such a cool example. I just took it and I made it on my own, but actually it is, all right? Well, this guy actually a few years back, the story is that he wanted to subscribe to The Economist, so he went online to figure out his options, and he saw this thing. Actually, this is a screenshot that he actually took from there. Well, first option is he could have actually registered to economist.com for 59 bucks, or the print subscription to his home for 125 bucks. But then he sees his third option, which is both web and print, for 125 bucks. Wait a minute. Print plus web, and cost exactly the same. So he wanted to figure out what happened here. I mean, why, how you guys figure out $125 for both? So he went on to try to contact the person or the department in charge of the economist to figure out what this happened. Why? What was the reason? After about 2 weeks of him trying to get the company, he finally found the guy. He introduced himself. He says, I want to know the logic behind this, if you can share it. And the guy hung up the phone, and about 15 minutes later, he took the error out. Well, they just screwed up. Okay? Now, out of these 3 options, which one do you think was a screw up? Option number 1, 2, or 3? Raise your hand, those who says option number 1 was a mistake. How about option number 2? Just a print version for $125. Anybody? Raise your hand, raise your hand. A few? How about the third option? Okay. Well, obviously the error, according to the economist, was the second option. This made no sense. Why would you offer less for the same price as the top version? Alright, so he got like a bug in him, and he wanted to know, well, if this was a mistake, was there any effect on consumer behavior as far as being presented with this option at the moment of making a decision? So what he did is that he actually went to MIT, and he went to the MBA school. Obviously, if you figure out MIT, these guys should be pretty square as to their analysis, and the MBAs should be actually square as far as analysis goes. So these guys should be pretty rational. Wouldn't you agree? So he went there and he actually said, at the MBA school, he said, given these 3 options, which one would you consider, which one would you purchase as the most logical option within the market? Alright, option number 1, number 2, and number 3. So let's do these quickly here. Raise your hand if you think that out of these 3 options, the most logical purchase would be option number 1. The economist at 59. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay. How about number 2? Option number 2. Anybody? Anybody would consider this option as the most logical? How about option 3? Both print and web. Alright, well, these were the results. Most of the MBAs said the most logical option is option number 3. Get both for $125. So far, so good. But then he actually made a twist. He actually removed the error. And he went back again to MIT and he asked the same question again. Given these 2 options, which one would you consider the most logical purchase? Now, let's see. Raise your hand. Which one of you guys think that this would be the most logical purchase now between these 2? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay, more people. How about option 3? Those were the original numbers. Once the option, the error, was removed, it changed the behavior. It changed the purchase behavior. People swung. Swung? Yeah, people swung. Sorry, my Spanish is... Anyway. People swung actually from choosing the most expensive option to the least expensive option. So what happened? What happened? What happened with that middle option? That noise. It was a pretty useless option, right? Because nobody wanted to purchase. But it was extremely useful because by having that error in there, what it did was that it shifted the consumer behavior to the most expensive option. And that, my friends, is called asymmetric dominance. That is actually one very particular example of pricing. It just happens that when you give options, people frame their decision criteria based on the options that are given. Now I'm just gonna set up quickly. Everybody here buys coffee from Starbucks, right? Why do they have 3 options? Why do they have small, medium, large? You guys know?
Make the large seem less expensive.
The large seems less expensive. It's called an anchor effect, but You're about right. But the truth is that when you're given three options, 77% of the people that are given the three options usually go for the middle. That's the truth. So, now I'm going to ask you, do you think the profit on the small, the medium, and the large coffee are linear? Do you think that the coffee that Starbucks sells to you, it's linear in its profit as to the small, medium, and large? No. It's kind of like a bell-shaped curve. Which one do they want you to buy? The small, the medium, or the large? I'm sorry?
The medium.
The medium. Not too small, not too large, not too expensive, not too big, not too small. They want you to buy the medium size coffee. That's because when given, I'm going to say it again, given three options, people, 77% choose the middle option. What's the difference between the small coffee and the medium-sized coffee? As far as expenses, as far as costs is concerned. The cup? Okay. Anybody else?
The highest cost is probably the working time of the person that's
Working time, okay. How about water? The difference between the small and the medium is water. What's the cost of water for Starbucks? Nominal. The cup? Yeah, we could say that the cup is more expensive, but usually Starbucks, they buy in bulk. So actually the cost of a small size cup to a medium size cup is marginal. So you're paying for water.